Welcome everybody. We're today we're going to do a webinar and walkthrough of Sprinterra's property management module for Acumatica, focusing on what the advantages are of an integrated property management product into the back end that is Acumatica. I'm joined today by our partner on this product, Michael Antonelli from Anton Systems. The title there is cut off, but I'm Samuel Robitaille. I'm the head of sales at Sprinterra. Michael Antonelli, founder and CEO of Anton Systems. Feel free as we're going through the webinar, if you have any questions, the chat is open. So we can see it. Feel free to ask any questions. I'll see them as we're going through, and hopefully we can answer them. We'll keep some for the end, obviously, but you can ask questions as we're going along. Let's get started. Okay, so we'll do some quick introductions about the two companies. Obviously, the fact that we work together. So Sprinterra is the development company that built out the product. We're the technical experts behind the scenes. Anton Systems we partnered with for their property management knowledge, 30 plus years of experience in that area to help us build out the product, but also to help us bring it to market. So who's this really for? So Acumatica partners that are looking to expand into property management conversations with customers, obviously very important, but who uses the product? So developers that own or manage commercial properties alongside their development activities. So they're usually using development, the construction edition in Acumatica to build their properties, and then they need something, a product to help manage those properties that they're keeping on the books afterwards. Property managers by themselves, so using the back end of Acumatica for finance and adding that property management module in order to manage those properties. Obviously, CFOs and controllers looking to consolidate financial operations and visibility. But really, it's a product that can be used anywhere that you have even internal financial real estate assets, corporate real estate assets internally, where you might have one or two entities that lease out to other entities that are owned by the same company. It's a great use case scenario for this product. So what you'll walk away with, so a picture of where the product is today, where it's come from in the last year or so, real world scenarios showing how the product integrates with financials, and we'll walk through that. The practical direction on what's going on with AI and automation capabilities. I'm very excited about that. And hopefully a confidence in whether the solution either fits your organization or fits for your clients. So a little bit about Sprinterra. I'll try to do this quickly so we can get along. So we started working with Acumatica about 12 years ago as a company. We were founded in 2007. We've got 40 people in-house that work full-time on Acumatica products, and we have a team of about 100 engineers and developers. We started developing the PM product in 2023, so it's been a little while. We do development services for Acumatica partners, so VARs, ISVs, OEMs. We help them develop products on the back end, and we also have our property management and cash basis reporting products as far as ISV products in-house. I'll pass it over to Anton.
Great, thank you. Welcome everybody. So as Sam outlined, our company, we've been working with Sprinterra to build out the property management offering that Acumatica had started back in 2020, 2021. And that's when Sprinterra took over the project and been building it out. Our company, Anton Systems, we've only worked with real estate developers, property managers, and owners for the last 3 decades. So we clearly understand, the type of persona, the type of company, and the different types of operations, whether it be commercial, residential, HOA, et cetera. The key theme here when we look at Acumatica and Sprinterra, putting together their software technologies is that, real estate developers that are developing property, in some cases, they'll hold and manage it. So they need property management. Traditionally, in the past, a developer would hire a third party fee manager, or they would, set up QuickBooks or buy some of the legacy software that's out there, and they would end up having two disparate systems. And we know Acumatica is all about one centralized solution. So real estate developers is an ideal, for those that are partners on the phone here today or on this meeting, those that go after real estate developers and even general contractors. This is a great add-on module for them. You then have companies, brokers, investment, asset management, real estate investment type scenarios where they want to hold and manage the properties for 3, 5 years, or however long they want to hold that portfolio. And they need a good property management accounting system. And the difference there is that they need multi-entity intercompany, another key strength in the Acumatica product suite. Not very few programs out there handle multi-entity intercompany processing, transactions, reporting, et cetera. So property management companies integrating with Acumatica for their accounting checks that box, but then they've got their commercial leases or their residential leases. So they need good data management. It's just not billing and collecting rents. It's lease management. It's all the critical factors in the lease, critical dates, options, expirations. There are usually multiple step ups to the lease. Sometimes there's escalations and recoveries. Sometimes it could be based on sales where there's a break point for calculations. So they need that centralized repository of all the data, but they want a strong accounting program underneath it. So the key thing here is that with what Sprinterra and Acumatica and with some of our knowledge been able to build is a complete integrated property management and accounting solution. I think that, where we started in 2021 and where we are here today, we've really much checked all the boxes that when we look at our competition, when we look at, many of our current clients and where they came from, we check a lot of the boxes. With the new UI, it even gives more configuration. Those of you that are maybe first time reviewers of the Acumatica software, we have a brand new user interface capability that you'll be able to change your fields, your colors. You can remove things. So the whole idea here is to design the software based on how an individual is going to interact and work with the software. The Acumatica platform as a strength gives you the automation of workflows, alerts, and notifications, user security. So with what Sprinterra built is a integrated, built in the platform of Acumatica. There are a couple hundred third-party products that will work with Acumatica, but very, very few have actually been designed inside the platform. So if you're already using Acumatica, you can quickly learn the menu system, how to generate reports, how to modify, how do you process, how you take advantage of dashboards, alerts, notifications, document management. It's leveraging all the Acumatica technology. With AI, with the upcoming AI releases that Acumatica has this year, Sprinterra has already built in a couple examples where you basically are using your English language to query the data that you are building and storing. So once you build out that database, yes, you can do a generic inquiry. Yes, you can do a report, or you could just plain English type of script from that perspective. Again, there is an aggressive roadmap. This product, is being evaluated almost every other week through our customer input, other partner input, and Sprinterra has a team that's dedicated to the build out and the development of the product. As Acumatica, it continues to enhance its financial reporting capability, then we're able to leverage even more forecasting capabilities coming out of the lease management side. That's usually the big area that people want to do a lot of forecasting and analytical type work with. The other item here, if you are a commercial property manager or you're a partner that's working with clients that are in the commercial space, the biggest differentiator today with this solution is called escalations and recoveries, or CAM, common area maintenance. Many of our competitors, and there's probably 100 of them out there, very few of them do it inside their application. They almost have to, handshake with a third-party program or an external table. And for a property manager who has to quickly reconcile so they can get the billing out of any special charges, any type of things that were agreed in the lease, 99% of the people do it in spreadsheets. And again, that's a big time waste and it's a lot of double dipping and there's room for errors. And that's one of the advantages with the Sprinterra property management is that that all is automated and built inside the software. At a high level, the commercial property management right now is the one market that's really underserved. There's a lot of people out there with residential software. But people that do mixed use, commercial and residential, we have clients that do 3,000 to 4,000 apartments, but they also have 8 to 9 million square feet of commercial space, or they got warehouses, or they got mini storage, they got mobile homes, they got homeowners associations. This software is designed to handle all areas, but the key differentiators right now and the market demand is in the commercial property management area. Uh, I kind of talk about property management as a three-legged stool. It's your properties, it's your spaces, and your leases. That makes up your database. So a lot of time is spent around that first leg of the stool of building the data. And the beautiful part, if you've used Acumatica, is that you can add customized fields called attributes. And those fields now can be part of any type of query, report, workflow. So we can pretty much abstract almost every little detail on these more complex commercial retail type leases. We talked about the escalations and recoveries. The second leg of the table is the billing or the stool I used. So the second leg here is the turn the crank billing capabilities. This is leveraging a lot of functionality built in as far as abstracting a lease into the future, multi-year, multi types of charges, different type of charges, maybe escalators in the lease. And when you go to print the invoice or email the invoice or print a statement or email a statement or post the charges up on a portal, it creates those charges in your Acumatica accounts receivable. As those payments come in, it's going through Acumatica's accounts receivable. So it's leveraging all the AR functionality that's inside. Acumatica last year released what's called AcuPay. So an AcuPayment could be the tenant gets an email with a hyperlink and clicks it and makes the payment directly. No third party, no delay on money going from one bank to another. So AcuPayments is a real nice feature. Uh, Acumatica and Sprinterra have put together a portal so the tenant can go to the portal. They could look at their invoices. They can make a payment. They can choose the type of payment type they want. They could even create a work order. So the billing is that second leg. The third leg is all the reporting. And after doing this for over 3 decades and talked to a lot of different clients, Sprinterra and Acumatica have put together a really nice out-of-the-box reports that meet a high percentage. And then again, anybody that needs a customized type report, the tools are there inside the Acumatica software. Uh, One nice little item that came out last year is the work order capability. So this is where the property manager could be walking the property, they could record a work order, or the tenant emails a work order or calls in a work order. You're able to have data around that work order. You can assign it either to an internal staff person, or if you have to assign it to a vendor, you can do a tenant bill back, or you can bill back the operating company as far as recovering any charges. It's a really clean, very simplistic work order program. This would be an ideal solution for those that don't self-perform maintenance. Some of your larger developers, property owners, and managers, they may self-perform maintenance, and that's where field service, the Acumatica module field service, fits in really, really well as far as handling inventory and routing and scheduling and labor and a lot of other factors that come into field service. The other key thing here, and we talked about it earlier with Acumatica, that it's out of the box multi-entity intercompany. As we know, Acumatica is an accrual-based accounting system. Acumatica and Sprinterra help build out a cash reporting module as well. So Sprinterra in their product offering has a complete property management solution and now a cash baseless reporting solution. So we find that probably 80% of property management organizations do report on cash. So it's a nice way to provide that. And if those of you that weren't aware, and maybe you're in some other industries that need cash reporting, it's something that you might want to look at that Sprinterra offers. This is just a couple of examples, from an operational perspective. Those of you on the call that are partners of Acumatica, when you look at who the ideal people that you want to be searching for, anybody that's again owning, managing commercial residential real estate, uh, but usually the title of property manager, asset manager, property coordinator, leasing manager, they're very data dependent. They're looking for, expiration leases. They're looking for options in their lease. They want to, be able to track work requests coming from the tenant. Are they getting responded to? Uh, if they're walking the property, they want a quick way to note that, oh, the parking sign was bent, or they noticed the back door needed painting. These are all little things that property managers are doing. They want to make sure the property is maintained, the tenants are happy with their property. So having the data is very important. The other area are the leases. Many commercial leases are 3, 5, 10, 15, 20 years in length. So abstracting all that data, because there's critical data elements, attaching the documents, having any notations, any key phrases. We're working on a project with a client right now where the actual lease document will come out of Acumatica. So that again can speed up the review and the approval, the publication using a tool like DocuSign to get a lease signed, and using workflow to alert that they have a new tenant moving in, maybe a grand opening sign or things like that. There's a lot of automation that can be built around that. The other thing is that Acumatica is very strong in dashboards. And as a property manager, if they were able to walk in and wake up and say, okay, what are my top 10 things I need to do today? Or what leases are going to be optional in the next 30 days? What units are becoming a vacant? They want all that real-time information. And there's different dashboards or widgets that would be available for them. When we look at it, the accounting side, this is where Acumatica accounting is very solid because they're going to have that, accounts payable, for example, the workflow of AP, being able to review and approve invoices. The property managers are usually part of that. So now the property managers can have their budget set up. They can see invoices coming in for review and approval. So we're really providing a really nice accounting solution. So that way the Margarets in accounting aren't always being tapped on the shoulder. What about this? Or what about that? Or did this come in? Or Margaret has to reach the property manager. Can you review this? Can you approve that? So there's a lot of this type of activity going on that property managers are sometimes using separate spreadsheets. Things are getting backed up in email. And this just gives them the ability to, have the collaboration between accounting and the property managers. Financial, when you look at CFOs, controllers, yes, they're relying a lot on the financial side of, what bills to pay, what cash is coming in. But they too want to look at areas of compliancy. There's insurance that you have to be tracking. So there's a lot of other data that managing on that asset to be able to pull it together. The last item we talked about was the escalations and recoveries. Just very quickly, that there may be a particular lease and they pay their pro rata share of real estate taxes and insurance. They pay a monthly amount, and at the end of the year, they reconcile that based on what the actual costs are to what their prorated share is. All of that math and all that data is stored inside the Sprinterra property management to make that a very quick process. The other thing, if you're dealing with asset managers and investment type asset holders, they really want to look at their portfolio, both on the financial side and also on the lease performance side. And this allows them to kind of build, again, that executive dashboard or build the inquiry vehicle for those asset managers, investment managers. We work really nice. This is a Microsoft stack, as you know, with Acumatica. So we work really well to bring data out. So if they wanted to bring out some historical data or current data and bring it into any of their data modeling tools, you're certainly able to do that as well. Um, you know, AI is on everybody's, it's almost like 24/7 now that AI is out there. Acumatica started AI back in 2000, gosh, 2000, I don't know, 18, 19, actually, I'm sorry, right around, yeah, around 20. Anyway, they were the first ones to bring AI automation in with the AP review and approval process. And now Acumatica has got a second and third generation of AI that's coming out. So that's going to just basically give you the ability to interrogate your data and make the data a little bit more accessible without having to run certain reports or queries. We can kind of talk about that. But the workflow is the other key thing is that we have clients that we've set up workflows for lease notifications, insurance expirations, planning move outs, move-ins, workflows around work orders, alerts and notifications, making sure that particular types of work orders get responded to. So that's where the whole workflow automation tool in Acumatica is leveraged because the data is there on the property management side. There are tools now where a lease, a 35-page lease, for example, AI can scrub that, and then that data can be scraped and then imported, into our lease area or any other areas. There's a lot of import scenarios of bringing data in. So if you got clients running on QuickBooks or any of the 30, 40, 50 applications out there, if we can get the data out, we can cleanse it, we can bring it in pretty nicely. If those of you have been working with Acumatica this past year, a generic feature is called anomaly detection. So you can pretty much start looking at certain areas of the business that you want to have alerts on. Anomaly could be, a particular lease that is incomplete. There's not enough data. There are certain data elements that didn't get completed, or there's things to do and they're not getting done. So you can use it to set up different workflows and alerts around that. Portfolio trends, that's a lot of that analytical type of things that are out there. So once you up and running, and once you get to that 3, 4 month where you've built the data, now you're going to start what we call turning the crank from a processing perspective and then pulling it, for visibility to everyone in the organization. Um, you know, I know Sam mentioned earlier, and I've mentioned it a few times, developers and property managers and brokers, but we've got clients. We have a nonprofit client that operates real estate. This was a perfect fit. They have Acumatica for all their nonprofit accounting, and they're able to put a couple million square feet up into their property management system. We have another client that develops just warehouses. And they then, in turn, like I said earlier, manage those warehouses. We have another wholesale distributor. They're a manufacturer in the piping industry, and they took their investments and they hold a number of real estates. So my point here as an Acumatica partner is that maybe look at some of your, organizations that are doing well, and you wonder where they invest their money, and they may be holding real estate, and you might have the right solution, to manage those for them. When you do talk to a developer, basically, are you building for yourself? Or are you building for others? That's a great way to have a conversation. customers, I think that the advantage here is that if you are a property manager or a prospect as a developer, Acumatica accounting is going to stand out first. That's going to really help make your decision to go with Acumatica. And then when you look at the property management capabilities, and because you are holding and managing real estate, it's a real nice add-on. You don't need to look at some of the other products that are out there. You don't have to think of it as a standalone. We're a very competitive, very feature-rich, and also very configurable. One of the biggest drawbacks with the competition is that they have a closed API. The advantage with Acumatica and Sprinterra is that it's an open application program interface, so it can handshake and play nice with a lot of other products. So if you do want to play with, a different property management program, we could, look at bringing their data into our property management, for whatever the reason may be. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause here and see if Sam's got any questions, and I'm going to bring over the screen and kind of walk you through the software.
I don't have any questions. We do have a question in the chat. Do you have auto vacancy loss calculation as part of the system?
Yes, we have that set up as an inquiry.
Great.
You can still see my screen?
Yep.
So if you're a first-time user at Acumatica, when you log in, you can have different roles, different responsibilities. This happens to be an example of a dashboard. A lot of different colors, different representations here. We've got quite a few of these based on the type of assets and the type of person that's using the system. But you're taught how to fish. Your Acumatica partner usually will teach you as part of your deployment on how to create these, modify these, and change these. They're all actionable. You can drill into them when you see the blue hyperlinks. But the important here from a property management, not so much an Acumatica platform, but this is the real-time data that property managers and accounting people really want to look at in a real-time fashion. And with many of the products out there today, a lot of this is still being done in spreadsheets. Lease expiration is very important. Work orders are important. Leases, the insurances, that's another compliance area. Leases that have options. Here's that rent schedule. These are your different charges and when they're scheduled to increase. What's the open AR, which, looking at your oldest or your largest. Accounts payable. Again, this plays nice. So a property manager, they may have invoices that they need to review and approve. Insurance expiration, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. Here's a warning. Scroll down. Here's your bills to approve. So if you're using the Acumatica AP recognition, review and approval capability, you've got that, property occupancy, and other different metrics that are available to you here. There also could be a work order. I'm sorry, the AR clerk, for example. So somebody who's just doing receivables, right? So you can bring in all of your other Acumatica data if you're already dealing with the AR side of it. If I go over here to, whoops, work orders. Well, this one didn't load up, but you can have different views if your work orders could also be there as well. Let's talk about the three-legged stool. So this is the property management, Sprinterra property management module. As you can see, it all looks and acts and behaves like Acumatica. You can see that there's a number of features and functions that have been built into this. And if you're new to Acumatica, the little gold star is called your favorites. So when Margaret logs in, Margaret can quickly get a listing of those things that are important. So they can have their dashboards, they can have their property, they could do banking. So here would be what we call favorite from a property management. If we go back into property management, we have the property area. And again, I can have my retail properties. I can have properties and in spaces. I'll go here in a second. You got your work order capability, all of your typical accounts receivable, property management type reports that you're able to generate from here. So let's just go look at the property data element. Using, again, I have the quick view, and with a grid, you can move these columns along, move these from left to right. For visibility purposes, they're all drillable as well, so I can drag into Flagler. As you can see, again, the advantage of this all being built in Acumatica, using all the same feature set as far as the tabs, etc. In our new release that's coming out, you can now even relabel these. You can add additional customized fields. So there's a lot more configurability. But we pretty much have got most of the data points that people have been asking for. So here, anything with a star always means that's a critical item. Everything else is a nice to have. Property attributes. These are your custom fields. You now can actually put these custom fields, what I call above the bar, anywhere on your screen if you want to. And then any of the custom fields can be used for reports and queries. This would be a listing of the spaces or the units. So again, now with how Acumatica is designed, Sprinterra and the property management designed it the same way, that you're pretty much no more than 2 clicks away to any of the data. You don't have to swim through menus. I can go from the property down to a particular space. I can click at the space level. Now it's going to load up that second part of the database, the spaces. You define your numbering, you can define your names. Your properties can be tied back to your branches or your entities. So you have that integration for accounting. Here's the information about your space. Again, you want to add additional space details, you can do that. Here are some general settings, right? Work orders that have come in. So, right, in real time, when I'm looking at my space, I can see if there's any work orders here. There are still some clients that are billing for utilities. You have that capability, do a reading there as well. If we jump over into the lease, here's the space. Let me look at the lease. I don't have to leave. I can go right from here, look up the lease or leases. Again, just a real good pictorial of the amount of data that we're able to abstract and bring in of the property at the unit and now at the space level. Here's some summary information. Here are a lot of the critical dates. This is something that property managers are using spreadsheets for. How are they tracking all of these critical dates? How do they get alerts and notifications off of that? Same thing, critical renewal dates as well. In some cases, you may have a month to month. You may want to define where the late charge calculation may be there. Sometimes, if you're a larger asset manager, you like to know what the mix of your leases are, wholesale, manufacturing, in the food sector. It just helps, marketing to know, the type of leases and spaces that you attract. You can use that for marketing purposes. Retail, if this was a lease that was based on their sales, and sometimes they have X amount of dollar is paid, X amount of percentage against sales, X amount of percentage against tobacco or cigarettes or alcohol. So there's different variables for that. Notes and legal. So this is where you can actually put those important clauses, can be tracked and logged here. Who are the contacts? So with Acumatica, you can have one to many or many to one. So I can have many different contacts to one record here. I can then drill into Sally as well. So now you get even more information about Sally. And just remember that everything here is also definable and configurable on how you want to use it, to where the point there could be some additional fields here as well. Activities, you're able to leverage the activity management, sending out an email, creating an email, assigning tasks, assigning things to do. There's a full activity management in Acumatica, and Sprinterra's property management does that as well. Dates, here you go. These are all talking points that when we're talking to a prospect, they're always talking about, well, how do I store my leases? What type of triggers can I have? What type of alerts can my property managers or brokers have? All of that would be right here. Security deposits, there could be different types of deposits. This is the space that this lease is tied to. Now, you may have a lease for multiple spaces, so we can track that. We have clients that a doctor will own a floor, but he rents out 30 spaces. So you can have 30 leases to that floor. So we handle that capability as well. This would be called the charge schedule, right? So these are the types of things you're going to be billing, and these are all definable. These all tie back into your general ledger. Next billing date, right? The space that this is for, and the schedule is actually, showing the schedule of all those charges. Expense recovery. This is where you'd set up your escalation and recovery, and then late charges would be set up here as well. So I'm going to close here, and close here, and we can go back and just look at a different one here. Pretty much just straightforward, just to show you a little bit of the navigation. So we went through the property, went through the unit. Now we have some nice kind of bringing the data together. So if we go to this particular property here, Flagler again, and again, the same metaphors here with property management, that you can send it, you can export it, and you can send it via email, you can export it to a PDF or export to Excel or a PDF. So here's a nice document that property managers like. It's a nice document if you're looking at selling the property. Kind of tells you what's kind of going on from a property abstract perspective. If we go back into property management and we go down to lease, we have, whoops, finger happy there. We have a lease abstract. So the property abstract and the lease abstract are two things that anytime we're dealing with a prospect, they're really excited about, because if they're on 2 or 3 different software programs, somebody's gluing all of this together, and that if they're able to, at a push of a button, if a property manager wants to know what's going on, with this particular tenant, here's the critical dates, renewal dates, the space, who are all the contacts, email, phone, contact information. Here's their charges, here's their deposits, here's their late fee percentage. If there was a utility, they don't have any work orders open. Here's insurance for compliance. Here's the escalation recovery, what the parameters are for it, the start date, the end dates. Really nice that it's all here visible for property managers. There's the rent schedule, and then there's a note area. We can, not only do we keep track of notes, I'm sorry, not only do we keep track of documents in Acumatica, but Acumatica has a really nice note feature of tracking that as well. Once the data is in there, then there's a lot of other types of reports that people look for, one being a rent roll. And you can look for go ahead and we'll pick, what happened here? Simple rep roll. Again, drillable from here, which is nice. And then most of these reports are pretty much, like I said, 90-95% of what property managers and owners are looking for. Nice recap at the end is very nice when you have a multi, especially in a mixed use type property. If we look at an annualized rent roll, that's another popular rent roll. Let's try, I think I had data here. And here's Sunrise Property Company. Here's Flagler for this property. So this would be your operating company or your branch. This is the property under that GL. And then here are your individual. Here you got your vacant. Here's your 2026, 27. So you can actually forecast out the next 5 years, and gives you a nice summary at the end as well. I could go on and on, all the different types of reports. We got a vacancy report, your scheduled charges report, insurance expiration, leases that are expiring. Nice thing about using Acumatica again, as far as a solution, is that a lot of these things could be teed up. I didn't, I hit the, I didn't do I'm doing the inquiry, but this could be a report that could be sent out. So I can take any report here and a report could be scheduled. So a lease expiration report could be scheduled to go out every 15 days, every 30 days to the property manager. So that gives some automation. If I'm an owner, right, I might want that property abstract report, at once a quarter with my financial packet. Work order, pretty simple here. This is extremely helpful in commercial properties, especially when they're not self-performing. They just want an easy way of tracking work orders when they do come in. So you can see there's notes on the work order, the space that it's linked to. And I can open up. Like I said earlier, you have the ability to close a work order. You can build back on a work order. I can see the information here. I can generate some reports. This could be emailed out, could be tenant facing, as well.
Michael,
So,
if we can take a quick pause to answer some questions in the chat, maybe. Larissa said, as far as auto vacancy loss calculation, so if you have the time, can you show it to us so we know where to find it? Don't remember that being on the release notes, so maybe you can show that later. We have a question. Can we get a rent roll on the whole property, not just a single tenant?
yes.
Perfect. And Larissa also asked, do you have plans to introduce a lease versioning mechanism in the future? This is currently one of the most significant pain points for us in the system.
Can they elaborate on that? Is that the lease collection from a document perspective to then prepare a new lease?
No, it's more like when you have a new lease and then there is a renewal, we would like to see the versioning in a system that when we originally set it up, there was one version for the new lease and then we have a second version for the renewal. Because when we try to run the reporting part, it shows us only one lease. It does not show us that from this original lease, we had a period from 2010 to 2025, and then we would have a renewal in 2025.
All right, I'll have to check on that.
Okay, thank you.
Somebody asked for a rent roll on the property. Here's an example of a rent roll on the property. The occupancy item, I don't have it in this instance. I have to get with, and we can maybe do a little video or do something to show that specific request. We'll follow up on that.
For the vacancy loss calculation?
Okay. What type of properties are you managing? Residential?
Everything, both residential and commercial.
Okay.
Thank you.
The only item I was going to just touch on here is the AI capability that's been released. And the backbone again, I said this probably earlier, the backbone to using AI is really the accessibility of all the data. So as these tables have been built out, let's say the lease table, Sprinterra has been able to build these inquiries, the generic inquiries, if you've used them, that where if it's the lease, insurance, work orders, the charges, notes and legal. These are the ones that probably people are asking for different results from the data that's stored there. So the whole idea here is that with with these being already predefined, I can then just go here. Once you've connected the tool with ChatGPT, it's helping to drive some of the behavior here. So if I go to AI support, so I'm actually going to ask AI a question, and I can then put a question in here, and let's see, um, I forgot what I had this already pre-scripted, but my system. Yeah. So this could be just, the idea here is that you can just start talking to the data, through the AI, and it goes out and executes. And what this should do, and I had this happen earlier, but imagine, if you will, when that would come back, it would then have told me what the average rent or the average lease was on anything over 2,000 square feet. So, um, we're still kind of building a lot of these types of scenarios out. Um, Sam, did you want to expand on any of this?
Yeah, so I mean the principle is the same as anyone if you've used an LLM or ChatGPT or anything like that. It's just written out requests or prompts that you're using inside Acumatica to go organize any data. So in this example, we're working with a GL. So any requests, instead of having to build out a report or use filters, you can just use natural language to go ask for it to put together a report or show you particular information.
So here's a list of work orders that have a roof issue. If I scroll, and you'll see that it opens up a window, and then here are the work orders that all had. And then you can scroll across. This just gives you an example. These were all the fields that you could have ran that query against. And then, from here you could do, and you could export it. You could, create a report out of it. There's other things that you can append onto this. Pretty much the capabilities. Sounds like some of you are already using the property management, so um, make sure that you're working closely with your partner or Sprinterra to make sure we get things added to the roadmap.
Awesome. Thanks everyone for showing up and for the interest. If you have any other questions, feel free to ask away or put them in the chat. We'll stick around for a minute or so if you do have any questions. If not, if you need any support or if you have any other inquiries, there is a link in the chat to book some time with myself to talk about things, or you can send me an email. I'll be following up with an email with everyone so you have my information.
Those of you that asked about the tenant portal, we can set up another demonstration and show you the tenant portal.
Sounds good. Doesn't look like anyone else has any other questions.
There is a question
chance.
about roadmap info. Larissa, we can share it with you.
Yeah, we can share it with you. Okay, awesome.
I'll follow up on the vacancy loss calculation, and we can follow up on the lease versioning.
Wonderful. Okay. Thanks everyone for joining. Take care and have a wonderful day.